I never thought my life would turn into a Reddit post, but here we are. 2 months before my wedding, the woman I loved more than anything looked me straight in the eyes and said words that almost made me forget how to breathe. By the way, she said casually, I have 3 teenage kids. At first, I laughed. I thought she was joking. I mean, who drops that kind of bomb 2 months before a wedding? But she didn't laugh back. She just stared at me, her face pale, eyes searching mine, waiting for a reaction. I remember sitting there frozen, my coffee turning cold in my hands. You're serious? I asked, my voice shaking. She nodded. I wanted to tell you sooner, I really did, but I was scared. Scared? Scared of what? That I might run away from a secret family she'd been hiding. Her name was Hannah. We'd been together for almost 2 years, met at a charity gala through mutual friends. She was elegant, confident, funny, the kind of woman who made everyone in a room pay attention. I was a 31-year-old software engineer, a bit quiet, maybe too cautious when it came to love, but Hannah changed that. She made me believe in meant to be. Or so I thought. When she first told me she was married before, I didn't think much of it. Lots of people have pasts. She said it was a long time ago, and that the relationship was toxic. But 3 teenage kids. That wasn't a past, that was a whole hidden life. I tried to stay calm. So how old are they? I asked, trying not to sound like my world was collapsing. 16, 15, and 13, she whispered. I blinked. Teenagers. Hannah, we've been together 2 years. Where have they been all this time? She looked down, her fingers trembling. They live with their grandmother, my ex-husband's mother. I didn't tell you because I wanted a fresh start. I wanted us to be about the present, not the past. My mind was spinning. She lied about her weekends away, her sudden trips, even the sick aunt story she told me last Christmas. It all made sense now. Every "I can't talk right now" message, every excuse for disappearing for days. She wasn't at work or at some family event. She was visiting her children. For a few moments, neither of us spoke. Then she reached for my hand, her voice breaking. I know I should have told you, but I didn't want to lose you. I've seen how you look at me, like I'm your future, and I wanted to be that without the weight of my past dragging me down. I pulled my hand away. You lied to me for 2 years, Hannah. 2 years. How do you expect me to trust anything you say now? Tears welled up in her eyes. Please, don't see it that way. I wasn't trying to deceive you. I was protecting something fragile, us. But I couldn't think straight. I felt betrayed, used. I had introduced her to my family, planned a wedding, made vows in my heart, all with someone who wasn't even honest about the most basic part of her life. That night, I sat in my apartment surrounded by wedding invitations and a half-finished seating chart. All I could hear was her voice. By the way, I have 3 teenage kids. It echoed in my head like a bad dream. I thought about calling it off right then. But something stopped me. Maybe it was denial, maybe love. The next morning, she texted me. Please meet me tonight. I need to explain everything. I owe you the truth. Against my better judgment, I went. When I arrived, she looked different, drained, almost fragile. She handed me a photo album and said, "These are my kids." I hesitated but opened it. 3 smiling faces stared back at me, 2 boys and a girl. They looked happy, normal, like kids from any other family. I got married young, Hannah began softly. He was charming but controlling. When I tried to leave, he threatened to take the kids. I fought in court for years, but his mother had money and influence. In the end, I lost custody. She paused, tears rolling down her cheeks. I visit them whenever I can, but legally, they're under her guardianship. I didn't tell you because I wanted to be seen as more than a single mom who lost her kids. I wanted to be seen as me. I felt something shift inside me. Part of me wanted to stay angry, another part understood. I asked quietly, do they know about me? She nodded, a little. I told them I met someone kind. They were happy for me. That broke me. Because no matter how complicated her story was, she was still a mother trying to rebuild her life. The next few weeks were chaos. I didn't cancel the wedding, but I didn't move forward with it either. My family was divided. My mother said, "You can't marry a woman who hid 3 children from you." But my father said, everyone deserves a second chance, son. And then came the twist I never saw coming. One evening, I received a message on Facebook. It was from someone named Ella. "Hi, you don't know me, but I'm Hannah's daughter." My heart stopped. I just wanted to say, please don't be mad at Mom. She's been through a lot. My grandma doesn't let her talk about us much, but she really loves you. I didn't know what to say. This girl, 16 years old, was apologizing for her mother's lies. I replied, "Thank you, Ella, I just want your mom to be honest with me, that's all." She sent a smile emoji and said, "She's scared you'll leave, everyone leaves her eventually." Those words hit harder than I expected. Over time, Hannah and I started talking again. We went to therapy together, tried to rebuild what was broken. It wasn't easy. Every time I looked at her, I remembered the lie, but I also saw the woman who was trying so hard to make things right. Then one night, she asked me to meet her kids. She said, "If you're still willing to marry me, you deserve to know all of me, the good and the bad." I agreed. When I met them, I was nervous. But they were surprisingly warm. Ella hugged me like she'd known me for years. The boys, Jake and Ryan, were polite and shy. For the first time, I saw Hannah not as the woman who deceived me, but as a mother fighting for her family. I started to believe we could actually make this work. But life had one more twist to throw my way. A week later, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I picked up, a man's voice said, "So you're the guy marrying my ex-wife?" It was him. Her ex-husband. He laughed coldly. "You really think she told you everything? Oh man, you're in for a surprise." Before I could respond, he hung up. I stood there, my heart pounding. What did he mean by everything? What else could she be hiding? That night, I confronted Hannah. She froze when I mentioned his call. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "There's something I didn't tell you about my ex, and about why I really lost custody of the kids." I stared at her. "What are you talking about, Hannah?" Her hands trembled as she whispered, "He wasn't just controlling. He was dangerous, and I did something to protect the kids, something I've never told anyone." I could see it in her eyes the moment I asked. Whatever Hannah was about to say was just another hidden detail. It was the truth she'd been running from all along. She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "I never told you the real reason I lost custody," she said quietly, "because if I did, you might never look at me the same way again." My heart raced. "Hannah, just tell me, no more half-truths." She looked down, her voice breaking. "I didn't lose them because I was unfit or because I couldn't provide. I lost them because I ran." "Ran?" She nodded slowly. "My ex-Mark, he wasn't just controlling. He was violent. He used to hit me, threaten me. When I tried to leave, he said if I ever took the kids, he'd ruin my life. One night it got bad, really bad. He came home drunk, angry, and he..." She stopped, tears streaming down her face. "He hurt our youngest, Ryan. I grabbed the kids, packed what I could, and drove off in the middle of the night." I felt my stomach twist. She went on, "We stayed with a friend for a few days, but Mark found us. He called the police and accused me of kidnapping them. I was arrested. He told the court I was unstable and dangerous. His mother backed him up. They took everything from me." She wiped her face with shaking hands. "When the charges were dropped, I tried to fight for custody, but his mother had already filed for guardianship. I didn't have the money to fight back, so I made a deal. I'd stay away if they promised to keep the kids safe." For a long moment, I couldn't speak. Everything she said, the secrecy, the fear, the distance, it all suddenly made sense. She wasn't lying to deceive me. She was lying to survive. That night, I held her for the first time in months without anger. She cried until her voice went hoarse, and all I could think was how easily I had judged her without knowing the war she'd been fighting. Over the next few weeks, I helped her hire a lawyer. We reopened her custody case and gathered evidence, old police reports, photos, witness statements. Her ex tried everything to stop us. He called me, threatened me, even showed up at my office once, yelling that I was ruining his family. Security escorted him out, but I could see the rage in his eyes. He wasn't just angry, he was terrified. Because he knew his facade was cracking. During the custody hearings, the truth began to unravel. The court discovered that Mark's mother had used fake medical records to claim Hannah was unfit. When confronted, she broke down in tears and admitted everything. For the first time in 10 years, the system saw Hannah for what she really was, a mother trying to protect her children. After weeks of hearings, the judge announced the verdict. Hannah would regain partial custody with full visitation rights. She broke down sobbing in the courtroom, clutching my hand. I'd never seen her smile like that before, like she was breathing again after years underwater. We spent the following weekend with the kids. It wasn't perfect, they were cautious, awkward, but little by little they opened up. Ella said, "Mom, been happier lately, you must be the reason." Jake nodded shyly, she used to cry all the time. Ryan just smiled and said, "Thanks for helping her." And in that moment, every sleepless night, every doubt, every painful conversation, it all felt worth it. A few months passed, and life began to settle into something new. The wedding was back on, smaller this time, more private, more real. 2 weeks before the date, Hannah got a call from the police. Mark had been arrested for fraud and assault after attacking a coworker. He'd finally destroyed himself. It felt like the universe had closed a chapter we were both afraid to touch. But that wasn't the last twist. On the morning of our wedding, I was waiting at the venue when a letter arrived. No sender, just my name, written in shaky handwriting. I opened it. "If you're reading this, it means you've chosen to forgive me. There's one more thing you need to know before we begin our life together." When I said I ran that night, it wasn't only because of fear. Mark had come home drunk and violent. He was hurting Ryan, and I hit him back, harder than I meant to. He fell, hit his head, and for a moment I thought I'd killed him. That's why I ran, that's why I never fought harder in court. I was terrified he'd tell everyone I tried to murder him. But you gave me the courage to face my past, so if this changes how you see me, I understand. "I'll be waiting, Hannah." I stood there for what felt like hours, the paper trembling in my hands. She had never been the villain. She had been a woman trapped in a nightmare, doing the only thing she could to survive. When the ceremony began, she walked down the aisle slowly, eyes full of fear, not of marrying me, but of whether I still wanted to. When she reached me, I whispered, "It doesn't change anything." Tears filled her eyes. "You read it?" "Yes," I said, "and I love you even more for surviving it." The rest of the world faded. It wasn't a perfect wedding. The cake was late, the music skipped, and half the guests cried for reasons they didn't even know. But it was real. For the first time in both our lives, love wasn't about fairy tales. It was about forgiveness. Months later, we moved into a small house near the coast. The kids visited every weekend. Sometimes I'd find Hannah standing by the window, watching them play, a soft smile on her face. One evening, as the sun set, she said quietly, "I used to think love was about finding someone perfect. Now I know it's about finding someone who stays, even after they see your scars." I smiled, then we both found it. She laughed softly and leaned against me. And just like that, the woman who once confessed the biggest secret of her life had finally found peace.